Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right, so search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinema, the podcast where we walk home from the movies. And today we're walking to a film festival.
Yes. Exciting.
Pause for excitement.
We don't do that very often. So we have now moved back to Cork, the city where we're from. And every year there is the Cork International Film Festival in November. It's the biggest film festival in Ireland.
And you're on the board.
I'm on the board of directors as a volunteer, and I know how much work goes into this festival, so I'm really proud we're going tonight. And we're even prouder to go to it because it's being opened by an Irish film called Aisha, which we're really excited to watch, by the Irish director Frank Berry and starring Natisha Wright and Josh O'Connor. So yeah, we're really thrilled.
Yeah,
going to see it in the Cork Opera House.
This
Huge
movie
screen.
is supposed to be excellent. I'm quite excited about it.
Same.
It's about a kind of about direct provision, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about a woman in the direct provision system. We'll explain more of that after we've seen the film, because we're kind of in a rush to go and watch it now. But yeah, we're really excited and to see it. I've never seen a film in the Cork Opera House.
No, I don't think I have either. I've seen Peppa Pig live with you and our kids.
The last thing we saw
recommend.
there was Peppa Pig live, and it's all uphill from there, really.
Jesus, yeah.
That was bad.
It was bad.
There were dark times in our lives.
It wasn't even. There were people dressed up all in like black, and they had like Peppa Pig cardboard cutouts in front of them, and they would like. And they were like manoeuvring them like puppets. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Peppa Pig, which is genuinely one of the worst shows ever created. So I don't know what else to say. The Cork Film Festival is on. If you're in Cork,
yes,
please.
it's on for the next. So as of when
days.
this episode comes out, it will be on for the next 9 days. So go check it out if you're in Cork.
It's raining, so
it's raining.
Perfect cinema
so
weather.
What else would you do? And if you can't get to the Cork Film Festival, Aisha's also going to go on Sky Cinema, so you can watch it there and then listen to us reviewed after we've watched it.
Yes,
Okay.
right. Let's go watch it.
We'll be back.
Bye.
Aisha, you're saying that your life would be in danger if you were to return to Nigeria.
Yes, I have no place to go.
Wait outside, please.
Me.
Move. You have failed to report to the Guard of National Immigration.
Guys,
Take it easy.
hold on.
Take it easy. Take it
Please,
easy.
please,
Sorry.
please, she's a small child.
Didn't know I'd be doing stuff like that.
Do you live in the city?
Yeah, I live with me, ma. Just for now.
Just be normal. Why do you look so stressed?
Aisha, what led you to seek protection?
You want me to say more?
If you can.
I just ask so much questions.
Aisha, there's a letter there for you.
What is this? You can't move me. I have my job here. My solicitor is here.
I'm sorry.
Hi, we're back. We have seen Aisha, and if it's your first time on the Cinemile, this is a podcast where we don't spoil things until we do. And that will happen on Spoiler Street, naturally, which we'll be turning into shortly enough. But before that, let's tell all the good folks, Kathy, what we thought of Aisha. What do you think?
Yeah, so I knew it was going to be a serious movie, and I knew it was going to be a good movie, because obviously, like, you don't open up a film festival opening night unless the movie's really good. But I don't think I was quite prepared for how the movie would make me feel and how wonderful the movie is. Like, there was like silence in the room, like kind of before everyone clapped. It had that kind of effect on the room. Letitia Wright's amazing. Obviously, she's like better known for Black Panther, which she's currently in. And Josh O'Connor's apparently played Prince Charles in The Crown, which is hilarious to us.
I'm not familiar with him. I've never seen him in anything, and he was also excellent.
He's excellent.
My
he's
God,
English,
these two are brilliant.
and his Dublin accent was like unreal. So anyway, they're amazing. They have the best chemistry, but more importantly, the film just really matters. Like, the director spent 5 years making it, between meeting people who were in direct provision, writing it, getting it all shot kind of off the back of the pandemic, and
now, sorry, you did promise we would explain what direct provision is, considering a lot of our listeners might know.
I will explain,
what that is.
And before I explain, do you want to say anyway, my overall reaction of the movie?
While you frantically pull your...
I'm still trying to pull myself together after the movie and kind of even talk about it, because I found it that powerful. But I
agree.
It's a brilliant. It's truly astonishing film. Like, it's the kind of film that every filmmaker should aspire to make, because it's genuinely capturing in real time one of the most cruel policies in Ireland that exist, and spotlighting the stories of people who exist in that cruelty. And that is just like, who else, how few filmmakers actually get to do that and get it on the big screen.
Yeah, I thought Frank Berry has done an incredible job here. He wrote and directed it, like you said, spent 5 years with people who are in or have been through the direct provision system in Ireland, which Kathy's going to explain in a second. And it shows there's an authenticity and a very there's a sense of care that has been provided to the stories that are presented to us, and there's a legitimacy and an authenticity that just carries. But what's also what he doesn't leave behind is the emotion, and I think that is, this is what is presented to us as a very uncaring system. And he cuts through all that red tape so beautifully and so effectively with this central character, Aisha, and it is a beautiful performance from Letitia Wright. He cuts through all that and shows us a person, a single person at the centre of this that you can relate to, that you empathize with, that your heart breaks for. You're
rooting for her.
You are rooting for her. Her joy fills you with joy, the audience. Her defeats you feel them in your gut. I wanted this woman to succeed and find happiness so much, as I did the other character, Josh O'Connor. The two of them are extraordinary together. They had such natural chemistry. What I really appreciated as well is that they're two characters who are quiet and introverted for various reasons, which we won't go into before Spoiler Street. But they're not. There's a tenderness and a gentleness to them and their sort of emerging friendship, which is so beautifully conveyed. And like you said, this is a movie that really matters. I hadn't seen anything by Frank Berry before, but I think he's done an incredible job here. And
it's really hard to take a subject matter like this and make a film that, obviously, while large chunks of it are sad, it's not a miserable film.
No,
that is like really difficult to strike that tone, right? Of like, there's moments of joy in it. It's really sparse, and by that I mean like there's a lot of silent moments. There's a lot of just close-ups and like quite grimy areas. Like, there's not much. There's like maybe one kind of vista view of Ireland. Like, it's almost the exact opposite of the Banshees of Inisherin visually, in terms of how much landscape that film showed us. And this is just so often just zoomed in on Letitia Wright giving this like incredible performance, and it's so stripped back as a film. And I think that's so hard to do when you spend 5 years making something. Imagine trying to figure out what you're even going to cover.
There are a few shots of the Irish countryside, very few, but I found them unbearably sad, because she's almost a prisoner in this. What's so awful about this direct provision is that, and you're still promising to explain it. I mean, it's going to happen in a second, but it's these people are kind of relatively free to roam around our country as they see fit, but they cannot work, they cannot earn, with some minor exceptions. They cannot get accommodation. They are in,
come here, I'll just explain what it is, and you're not quite right when you say free. You're not right when you say free to roam around as they see fit. That's not true.
To some extent. Well, what I mean is that she's getting buses around this country. What I'm coming back to is that I felt a deep sadness watching her in this these roaming hills of the countryside in Ireland, and she is not really allowed to partake in it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But she's there, and it's this awful limbo, and which is exactly what this system is.
And basically
she's
what
in it for years. It's tragic.
It's like I'm just kind of reading something from Duras, which is a really good website, and we're going to link to it in the show notes just to explain it properly, because I even found it very complex to understand. But it's Ireland's reception system for asylum seekers, and it's known as direct provision. And under the direct provision system, people are accommodated across the country in communal institutional centres, formal hotel style settings, and the vast majority of the centres, and this is what the utter scandal of it is, one of the many, it's managed for a for-profit basis by private contractors. It's one of the cruelest things the Irish government has ever done. It was set up as a short-term measure in the year 2000 and it still remains today, albeit they claim it's winding down by 2024. It's intended to provide for the basic needs of people who are awaiting decisions on their applications for internal protection, but many applicants experience lengthy stays, which is associated with obviously declining physical and mental health, self-esteem and skills. What this film captures is that people can be stuck in this system 4 years, and all they're waiting for is approval on whether or not they can stay in the country. Apparently there's more than 7,000 people living in direct provision at the moment in Ireland. So the fact that this film is airing now as direct provision still exists, and that it's fiction, and that it's in cinemas and on Sky is just an incredible thing, because
it makes it a very important film to raise awareness about what is a very deeply flawed and broken system. It's being run as a business, and I think that's one of the there's a few moments in this film that really highlight the impact of of small local sort of organizations or individuals who are running these centers for profit. Who suffers are the people staying in it, because they are cutting costs wherever possible on food,
and it's just
services.
So weird how the Irish government also outsources a lot of stuff around homelessness to for-profit organisations. The Irish government wastes so much money for people who profiteer off the sadness of others. It's an utter disgrace. And anyway, we're going to link more information for people who want to read more about it. But on to more positive notes, we're going to go into Spoiler Street now on the movie and talk about all the wonderful kind of elements of the movie as well as the sad elements. So we're going to go.
But before we do, please do find this film and watch it and support it. As Kathy said, it's on Sky Cinema. It is well worth your time. I know this sounds very weighty and lofty subject matter, but as Kathy said, you will be absolutely gripped. There are people at the centre of this, both real people whose stories do feature in this movie, but also a character who represents them, I think, very effectively, who you will fall in love with.
Yeah.
And there is joy to be found in here as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Please do find it.
And also to see like people who are so famous for Black Panther and The Crown, which are just huge properties, to see them in this really stripped back simple film, simple but extremely complex at the same time, is brilliant. And I love to see two actors like that just completely moving out of the big budget stuff and into this kind of stuff. Is awesome.
Yeah.
So spoiler streets now for Aisha.
Right, so what I mean,
I don't even know what to talk about.
We need to talk about the end, because
I think we need to talk about...
I thought the end was perfect.
I thought the end was absolutely perfect, because throughout the film, it's only 90 minutes as well, which is a lovely length for a film like this, and you're kind of watching it she keeps hitting different setbacks. So she ends up being moved accommodations 3 times, which is apparently really common, and really sadly, she has a job and a life, when we meet her, and she just gets yanked out of it like that, and then she has no recourse. And she says multiple times throughout the film, and other people say too, I actually just want to work. And she doesn't want to be in
I don't want a
division.
handout. I don't want anything for free. I just want to work. Yeah, she wants to contribute to society.
And apparently you can't do that until you've already... She says something you can't do that until you've been in the country 9 months. You can't even get a work permit.
And even then, they appear to be rare, according to the film, right?
So anyway, she gets moved 3 times, which is awful. she has to continually, like, what's really fucked up about it is she seems to have to, like, continually
relive her trauma
by telling these Irish bureaucrats over and over again why it's unsafe for her to return to Nigeria. And, like, at one point her mother gets murdered back in Nigeria because the family is unsafe, and they still don't grant her asylum.
I will say what I did appreciate is that Frank Berry didn't go what could have been a tempting route to portray some of these the people playing these Irish bureaucrats as sort of, you know, uncaring monsters. What I did appreciate is that
they were like uncaring, but they weren't monsters.
Yes, but the system is the monster here,
yeah.
and there are individuals in those roles who are perpetuating this system and keeping it afloat. But I thought those performances from those actors indicated some, you know, they weren't villains. They indicated some emotional, some empathy towards her, but were still part of the system that was rejecting her consistently, and they were the decision makers. But it's a very conflicted thing, which I thought he and those actors expertly portrayed that nuance.
And they keep pushing her, like, they basically are saying, tell us vivid details of the trauma you experienced.
Yeah.
They're like, tell us your story. And I love that scene where because she often doesn't talk that much, actually, but the scene where she's like, it's not my story, it's what happened to me. And she still only gives them a few lines of explanation because, you know, too right, like, she's experienced such trauma. Why should she have to relive it in their gory details they appear to be looking for?
Yeah.
And, like, they, at this point, know her mother's died a violent death. And she, like, still doesn't get it. But we're talking about the ending of the film is, like, when you're watching it, we're like, well, if she gets granted it now, it feels like too happy an ending when you're representing a system that leaves people in limbo for so many years, and she's, and now I say in inverted commas, only been in it for 2 years. And then if she got fully rejected and had to leave the country, it would be an awful end for the audience.
Well, yes, because either way, so if you present the happy ending, then you undercut the message of the film.
Exactly.
Because she has succeeded,
even though you're still like, she's had 2 awful years, and before that with her family.
So what I did I think the ending was perfect. Yeah. because he leaves us some hope.
Yeah, because they say
there's a hopeful
this
message.
Decision can be appealed in the High Court,
but
and, like, God knows how long that will take.
But there's also, he leaves you feeling that uncertainty that she has been feeling for 2 years. Every time she gets a letter, my heart was breaking, because you just know it's going to be rejected. So he leaves you with the uncertainty that she could be in this situation for 2 more years, 3 more years, for indefinitely.
Like,
and that
even in say, quote unquote regular life, appealing something in the High Court would take forever for someone even with large resources at their fingertips. And it's so sad for her when she's so frustrated, because anytime she tries to express frustration, there's this, like, fear underlying it, which is like, oh, well, you have to be a good girl now.
Oh, yeah.
You have to get along with the system.
She gets described as insubordinate.
Because she wants halal food.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
I love that scene where she says there's no halal food here to eat, and the most evil character in it, the penny pinching bastard who runs one of the centres, he says...
He was an out-and-out villain.
He says, this is halal, and she's like, but you've never shown me a certificate to prove it's halal. And she's like, he's cutting corners, and then he basically gets rid of her. And and I actually think the living conditions portrayed in this film were actually favourable to compare to what I believe some direct-to-vision living conditions are. But because it went from her being in a room with the family she really loved at the beginning of the movie to being kind of, like, kicked out of even the mobile home she was living in by the end.
Yeah.
And, like, when her mother died, and she was, like, Letitia Wright was so incredible in that scene, I was like, God, she's no one to turn to. Like, she had no support system. So that's why her friendship with Josh O'Connor's character was so sweet, because they're like these 2 really kind of tortured characters who are both actually incredibly sweet and lovely, and they kind of come together and, like, find each other, and it's just... that was the lovely part of the movie.
I thought it was really... I think it was a very, very clever way he wrote Josh O'Connor's character, in that he is also a victim, and their friendship, because I think there could have been an uncomfortable power dynamic, or one that the audience could have perceived.
I had the same thought.
If he was this sort of just really nice and well-meaning, but very sort of charming and extroverted guy. I mean, there is an easy implication it would be easy to look at a relationship like that and think that man is taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
But there is never any sense of that because they feel like two kindred spirits who have who both experienced trauma in their life. And I think the way that there are a few moments where of just from that very early moment of him offering to get her the halal food, you know, he shows compassion from the very beginning. And that, I think, is the key message of this movie, is that human beings deserve compassion, and she is getting that from him because he needed it too.
Yeah.
And the system that she is going through is completely devoid of compassion, and yet it is constantly trying to manipulate her into expressing an emotional story that is kind of none of their business in one way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is one scene in the film. There's like one properly lighthearted scene in the film, and it lifted the whole piece for me because it does get you down watching a film like this, and especially in Ireland, because I feel like guilty by association, even though we've not even lived here, we've not even elected the current government.
I felt guilt
but
and
I
shame.
felt guilty just sitting there,
same.
and there's this scene where they're just waiting at a bus stop, and it's actually the poster for the movie, and she's just telling him like kind of how like certain phrases are in Nigerian versus in Irish English, and it's just so fun, and it's just this lovely sweet moment. And then like I love the moment we're in the bus station together and he says like, can I give you a kiss? And they've like the tiniest little peck, but it's so sweet. And when she takes a picture of him and she's just like looking at it on her phone, like there's just lovely little moments like that.
It's such a lovely chaste kind of relationship. But the other thing that devastated me was when he kind of puts his heart on the line to her in that mobile home, and she says, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of, I can't be with you, I have no future, I have no, like she has no life, and she is in,
and she had just tried to, like, she's injured because she just tried to walk in front of the car.
Oh, that was awful. And yeah, she just hasn't. How are you supposed to live like that when you have no prospects, no quality of life, and everything that was important to her is being systematically stripped away? And as soon as you build up a routine and some prospects, that gets taken away. She is powerless. She is helpless.
And then there's some sort of like assumption that she should like feel grateful for the accommodation and stuff, and she's like, but I just want to work, and like she would just want to work and live in her own place, like she doesn't want to live here.
Do you know what, this movie pairs really well, and it's interesting they came out in the same year, or we saw them in the same year, with the other movie Flee, the animated documentary.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Which portrays the journey of an asylum seeker a lot more. This is more about the ultimate destination of an asylum seeker in Ireland. But I think those two movies, if you could show those two movies to everybody in the world, to particularly people who are, say the word racist or skeptical towards refugees and immigration and asylum seekers, because there is a lot of that in the media. They're too often referred to by statistics or as the other or a threat. Mm-hmm. If you could show those two movies which present the human beneath, I think the world would be a kinder place.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I hope loads of people see this film. I'm so proud that like the Cork Film Festival showed it as the opening movie, and I'm so proud of someone who used to work in Sky that like they've released it. But yeah, wow, like I mean, I don't think we should talk about it too much more because we've kind of said all we want to say about it.
If you haven't seen it, just please.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd say it's one of the best films I've seen in years. Like if that's high enough praise for our listeners, and I just like finding it even just hard to talk about because it's just a movie that you should watch. And like you're like, this is what cinema is actually for. Like cinema is there to obviously entertain and delight, but it's also to reflect stories that are worth being shown on screen and that are worthy of us seeing. And this is where particularly I think fiction, narrative fiction and film is really powerful because you can see it in a setting like that and it can be easier for you to digest because, you know, there is some lightness in here because it is fiction.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that it came out now because, you know, there's often these things are done after something has been quote unquote fixed and the film could
Yes.
end on,
Yeah.
oh, and direct provision was abolished 10 years ago, and aren't we great? And
Well-
it's like, well, no, Ireland, actually, it's still underway.
I'll give you an exact example of what you're describing, also in Irish history. You know, the Magdalen laundries.
Yeah, and those things are always wrapped with, oh, well, it's all sorted now. No, like...
Well, they've been, you know, the horrors have been well documented there in you know, both the media and through fiction. But yeah, always, you know, this is decades after the fact.
Yeah.
In most cases. So, yeah, no, you're dead right.
Yeah, and I hope everyone in the
action-
Irish government's forced to watch it.
Yeah, action can be taken now.
So anyway, on that note, let us know what you think of Aisha. If you caught it, it is in select cinema, so you may actually catch it on the big screen. If not, obviously you can watch it on Sky Cinema. If you're outside of the UK and Ireland, I hope you can watch it somewhere. I'm not sure where it's being released. And yeah, that's it from us.
You can talk to us about it or about anything else.
Yeah.
We're at the Cinemile on, if Twitter still exists by the time you're listening to this.
We made that joke last time.
Then it's like, yeah, but now it's legitimately feels like it was a bit of a joke last week, and now it's like, is it going to be here next week? I don't know.
If not, we've not at all panicked, but we've just gone off and made ourselves a letterboxd, which just turns out a platform we should have been on because it's so fun. So
yeah, it turns out it's a movie social network,
we
right?
We were on Letterboxd, we were on Mastodon.
Yeah, but I forget the.
But we don't know what to do there.
Kathy set up a Mastodon and doesn't know what to do with it or how to do it, and I'm not interested. So, I mean, you could please go find us on Mastodon.
As always, we can just email us cinemile@gmail.com.
Cinemile@gmail.com.
And thanks for listening. And next week we'll be back with another Irish film. No, I'm only messing.
Yeah, Black Panther Wakanda.
Yeah.
The most Irish. I'm really glad that we got through a whole episode talking about Irish films and you didn't bring up Blackbird, which
I've been meaning to. Actually,
it's not an Irish film.
Of course,
it's a Michael Flatley film. He is very loosely associated. Of course,
when
with
I
our
said
country.
that Aisha was one of the best films I've ever seen, I meant like after Blackbird.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
I'm going to ask you a difficult question. That's okay.
They must know everything will happen.
Do you want to talk about it?
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Jessie Cruikshank, and I've always been told I have a face for podcasting. So I launched a podcast. It's called Phone a Friend because each week I'll break down the biggest stories in pop culture. But when I have questions, I get to phone a friend. I'll phone a royal watcher to find out why Prince Harry is acting like a real housewife. I'll phone a tween to please explain Euphoria. And maybe I'll even phone a Backstreet Boy to find out if I still have a chance. I don't? Okay. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.